The stars were cold and silent. They had always been cold and silent. But tonight, they watched something terrible move through the darkness. Grand Admiral Al stood at the viewing window of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. His tall, armored body cast a long shadow across the metal floor. Behind him, hundreds of officers worked at their stations, monitoring the greatest fleet ever assembled by the Empire. 3,000 warships. Each one was a mountain of metal and weapons, capable of destroying entire cities in moments. They stretched across the void of space like a river of death, their engines glowing with blue fire. Al smiled. His mandibles clicked together with satisfaction. In 40 cycles, his empire had conquered 17 star systems. They had crushed species that thought themselves powerful. They had burned worlds that refused to surrender. And now, they were about to add one more territory to their collection. A territory called Terran space. Grand Admiral, his second-in-command, Ed, spoke from behind him. "We are approaching the border. Our scouts report no defensive positions ahead." "Of course there are none," Al replied without turning around. "They are hiding. They know we are coming and they are afraid." They had heard stories about the Terrans. Strange creatures, soft bodies, no natural weapons. They had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. By all accounts, they should be easy prey. But there were other stories too, darker ones. Ships that entered Terran space and never returned. Warnings broadcast on every frequency. Tales of terrible weapons that no species should possess. Al did not believe such stories. He had heard similar tales about other species before conquering them.
No, thank
Fear
you.
was a weapon that weak civilizations used to protect themselves. It never worked
How much
against
money?
the Empire.
Oh yeah, you did.
Suddenly, the communication officer raised his hand. "Grand Admiral, we are receiving a transmission. It appears to be automated. It is broadcasting in many languages." "Put it through." The bridge fell silent. Then a voice filled the air. It was calm, cold, without emotion. "This is Terran Unified Command. You are
Should move towards
approaching
circle a little
sovereign
bit.
human territory. Turn back. There will be no second warning. Entry means oblivion." The message repeated, again and again. In hundreds of different languages, it echoed the same words: turn back, no second warning, oblivion. Eth shifted uncomfortably. "Grand Admiral, perhaps we should send scouts first, to understand their defenses." Al turned and stared at his officer with cold
Bro, we got a gold
eyes.
rush.
"Are you afraid, Eth? Has one little message frightened the second commander of the greatest fleet in the galaxy?"
Hit everything.
"No, Grand Admiral. I only suggest caution." "Caution is for the weak." Al walked to his command chair and sat down. "All ships increase speed. We cross the border now." The fleet
Oh,
obeyed.
there's a team here.
3,000
There's a team here.
warships pushed forward, crossing
back,
the
pulling
invisible
back with you
line
guys.
that separated territory from human space.
Guys,
Far away, at the edge of Terran territory, a small
I literally was
monitoring
on top of the hill
station
and said we need
floated
to
in the
move.
darkness. It was not large or impressive, just a collection of metal rooms and sensor arrays designed to watch and listen. Inside, Lieutenant sat at her console. She was 26 years old, with black hair tied back in a simple knot. Her eyes were focused on the screen in front of her, watching the countless red dots that represented enemy ships. "They crossed the line," she said quietly. Her voice was steady, but her heart was beating fast. Senior officer stood beside her. He was older, with hair at his temples and deep lines on his face. He had served for 30 years. He had seen many
Well, we need to
things,
go towards circle.
but he had never
Yeah, you need to
seen
go
this
towards
many
circle.
enemy ships.
If you listen, if you pay
"Count,"
attention to
he
your
asked.
map, we go towards circle.
3,000 confirmed, possibly more behind them. Let out a slow breath. 3,000 warships. The Empire was not joking around. They had sent everything they had. "They really think they
We
can
can
take
head up,
us," said.
here if you guys
There
want,
was
so we
something
have
in her
higher ground.
voice. Not fear, something else. "They don't know," replied. "They don't know what we are, what we can do." He picked up the communication device and pressed the button.
Shane, hello,
His voice was
hello.
calm as he spoke.
Yeah, there's
"Command, this is
teams
Outpost
from
7.
both
They have crossed the line. 3,000 ships confirmed. They
All right, so
ignored the
then I'm just
warning.
gonna wait for you guys, or what?
There was a pause. Then a voice
I'll
responded.
shoot from up here.
It belonged
since they're
to
shooting you.
Admiral, commander of the Terran Defense Initiative. She was a small woman with silver-streaked hair and a reputation that made enemy commanders lose sleep at night. Acknowledged Outpost 7. Begin Protocol Oblivion. All stations prepare for engagement. Looked at,
Down
it's
one.
really happening. Yes, he put a hand on her shoulder. Remember your training, we watch, we report, and we trust our people to do the
Okay,
rest.
move.
On the Eternal Dominion, Al felt pleased with himself. His fleet had crossed the border and nothing had happened.
I'm
No
underneath
attacks, no defensive fleets, just empty space.
How do I get up
You
there?
see,
I don't even have a
he said to
jetpack or
Ed.
anything.
Their warning was nothing but empty words. They have no power to stop us. It does seem quiet, Ed admitted. Quiet because they are running, hiding in whatever hole they crawled out of. Al laughed. Fine there.
Did you get
We
only
will burn
hers,
it
or-
and end this in a single day. The navigation officer worked quickly.
Oh,
Grand
it does,
Admiral,
it does.
according to our star charts, there is in a system 3 days ahead. They call it Sol. Their planet is called Earth.
Dude, it's the
Earth,
only way I
Al
was in the
tasted the
circle.
word. A strange name for a world about to die. Set course. Maximum speed.
Alright, it's fine.
The fleet changed direction, moving deeper into Terran space. Behind them, the warning
running
message
to you.
continued to broadcast,
Running
ignored
to you,
and
running to you.
forgotten. But in the shadows between stars, something was watching, something was waiting,
There's teams
and something
like
was
behind you as
preparing.
well. You need to be careful.
Admiral stood aboard her command carrier, the Dawn of Sol. It was one of 12 carriers in the Terran fleet, but it was special.
I'm down.
It had been built over the ruins of an old city, using technology
Here, if I
that
die,
had
just
taken
take my
humanity
body.
centuries
Take my shit
to
in my
develop.
body. I'm rolling to you guys.
She looked at the tactical display. 3,000 red dots moved across the screen like insects crawling toward a flame. They really came, said Captain, her first officer. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and a calm face. I thought the warning would be
I'm
enough.
upset.
It was never enough,
Someone clapped
replied.
this bot. That's crazy.
Species like the only understand one thing, strength, and we will
Alright,
show them strength they cannot imagine. The weapon platforms are ready. All 12 carrier groups are in position.
I don't think so.
We can
I don't know.
engage at your command. Shook her head. Not yet, let them come deeper. Let them think they are winning. Let them believe we are weak. And then, she
Yeah,
turned to
it
face
shows-
him.
it shows
Her
that we have
eyes
a
were
shared,
hard as stone.
Chat.
And then
No?
we remind the galaxy why no one enters Terran space, why the warning exists, why we made ourselves into something that even the darkness fears. Nodded slowly. He had served under for 10 years. He knew her well. She was not cruel. She did not enjoy killing, but she would do whatever was necessary to protect her people. That was what made her dangerous. In the depths of space,
Why does it fucking
hidden
do
in
that every
dimensions
time? It
that
should
no other
automatically-
species could see or understand,
Let me see.
10,000 weapon platforms waited. Each one was the size of a small moon. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy an entire fleet. They had been built in secret
you.
over many
Also,
generations.
guys, I got
They were
the
humanity's final
buzzball.
answer to a hostile universe. Not a warning, not a threat. A
Who in the
promise.
fuck?
And
gifted
that
me
promise
Right
was about to be kept.
now? All
The
right.
fleet pushed deeper into Terran space, and with each passing hour, Al grew more confident. There were no attacks, no enemy ships, no defensive stations, just empty darkness and cold, drifting rocks. They are cowards, he announced to his officers. All their warnings, all their threats, and they run like frightened animals. The Terrans are nothing. His officers cheered. They believed their Grand Admiral. They
Where are we
trusted
going?
his wisdom. After all, he had never lost a battle. He had never failed to conquer his enemies. Why would this time be any different?
Are you guys paying attention?
But Ev was not cheering. He stood apart from the others, staring at his tactical console with worried eyes. Something wrong? Al asked, noticing his silence. I am not sure, Grand Admiral. Our sensors are detecting strange readings. What kind of readings? Ev shook his head slowly. Gravitational distortions, energy signatures that don't match anything in our database. Some of our outer ships report their equipment is malfunctioning. Old ships with old problems, Al said dismissively. It means nothing. Perhaps, but 3 ships have gone completely silent in the last hour. We cannot contact them. We cannot find them on our sensors. They simply vanished. For a moment, something cold touched Al's heart, but he pushed it away. Fear was weakness, and he was not weak.
Oh, I knew it
Engine
was- oh, I didn't
failures,
take 12 damage.
communication problems, nothing more. Continue the advance. Eth wanted to argue, but he knew better. Grand Admiral Al did not accept
I'm
disagreement,
near you, Dakota.
so he simply nodded and returned to his work, the
Leave.
worry still heavy in his chest. On Outpost 7, watched the fleet
you start
move
with your
deeper into
bullshit.
Terran territory. Her screen showed their positions in real time, transmitted by thousands of hidden
May, what the
sensors
heck?
scattered
Becca,
throughout the
says the
region.
one that was stuck underneath
They're not even
fucking
scanning
the
properly,
stairs.
she said.
Didn't even know how you
They
got
have
there,
no
bro.
idea what's waiting for them.
No, you made her
Nodded,
go down there.
he was
You
eating
made
a
her go
simple
down there to
meal
get
of
you.
rice and vegetables, his eyes never leaving the screen. Arrogance. It's the same every time. They think because they've won before, they'll
alright.
win again. How many species have tried to invade us? 7. In the last 200 years, 7 different civilizations have ignored the warning and entered our space. He took a bite of his food. None of them exist
He's
anymore.
down. He's down.
Looked at him. We
There's
destroyed them
another
all.
one, bitch. On the
No,
stairs.
we destroyed their fleets. Their empires collapsed on their own afterward.
He's down.
When you build a
one's down, there's one
society
more.
on conquest and
Over here.
fear, losing just one battle can bring everything down.
He's
She
down.
thought about that for
There's
a
one
moment.
more. Where's the other one?
They
Where's
had
the last
conquered 17 star systems. Millions of beings lived under their rule, forced to
one?
obey
A lot of them
or
are
die.
down.
What would happen to them when news of this defeat spread? Almost feel sorry for them, she murmured. Don't, his voice was hard. The burned 3 inhabited world's last cycle alone. They don't take prisoners. They don't negotiate. They kill everything that resists. Save your sympathy for their victims. Nodded and returned to her work. He was right. They had chosen this path. Now they would walk it to the end. Aboard the Dawn of Soul, Admiral stood perfectly still in front of the main tactical display. Her officers moved around her like water flowing around a stone, each one performing their duties with quiet efficiency. Status report, she said. Weapons officer responded first. He was a young man with quick hands and sharp eyes. All weapon platforms are fully charged and standing by.
Yeah, the
Target
other guy's
locks
probably just gonna
confirmed
try
on
to-
every enemy vessel.
think
Navigation
he's getting their
officer spoke
tags.
next. She was small but fierce, with a reputation for precision that
he just
bordered
ran.
on obsession. Spatial anchors are deployed and stable. When we activate them, the enemy will not be able to jump to hyperspace. They will be trapped. Communications officer Minu added. All carrier groups report
Do
ready.
you guys have money?
The
I think
fleet
we can
is
get
waiting
this
for your
bitch.
command, Admiral.
Oh yeah, no.
Nodded slowly. Everything was in place. The trap was set. All that remained was to close it. How long until they reach the Sol system? She asked. At their current speed, approximately 4 hours, replied. We engage before they see Earth. Our people should not have to watch a battle in their sky. Understood, Admiral.
I'm taking him. I'm gonna torture
Turn
him
to
over
look
here.
at the display one more
Taking him
time.
in here.
3,000 red dots, moving like a swarm
Putting
of
him in this room,
insects
shutting
toward
the
her
door.
home. Each dot was a warship. Each warship carried
Lock him in
thousands of
there.
soldiers, eager to kill and conquer. She felt nothing.
Oh,
No
everyone coming
anger,
up.
no fear, no hatred. Those emotions had burned away long ago, leaving only cold purpose. 2 centuries before,
Oh, no.
humanity
Yeah,
had
he's down,
nearly
yeah.
destroyed itself.
Oh,
Wars had
homeboy.
covered the earth
Get
in
back in there.
fire.
No, come here.
Diseases
Come here.
had killed
here.
billions. Weapons had
putting you back
poisoned
in
the
there.
air, the water, the soil. Humanity had looked into the
Where do you think
abyss
you're
and
going,
seen
boy?
its own extinction staring back.
No.
But
come
they
here.
had survived. They had rebuilt. And they had
Dude,
sworn
Godzilla,
that never again
Stay
would they
in your
be weak.
cage.
Never again would they be victims. Never again would they allow anyone
it.
to threaten their existence. That oath had driven them
Get
to
in
the
here,
stars.
bro.
It had pushed them to develop technologies that seemed like
That's hella
magic.
funny.
It had transformed
he's
them from a
pissed.
broken
I'd be pissed.
species into something new. Something that the galaxy had never seen before. Something that they were about to meet. On the Eternal Dominion, Alarms suddenly filled
I would
the
be
air.
mad.
Report, Al shouted, jumping to his feet. Ed's voice was tight with shock. Grand Admiral, something is happening. Space is bending around us. Energy readings are off the scale. What do you mean, bending? Before Eth
They
could
just
answer,
left us,
the
Dakota.
stars outside the viewing window began to change. They stretched and
That's
twisted,
crazy.
their light bending in ways that made no sense. It was as if reality itself was being pulled apart.
Right, we're on our way.
Then came the light. It erupted from nowhere, bright as a sun. Al threw his arm over his eyes, momentarily blinded. When he lowered it, his heart stopped. Shapes were emerging from the light. Massive structures, each one the size of a small moon. They appeared from nowhere, stepping out of dimensions that science could not even imagine. Weapon platforms, thousands of them. They surrounded the fleet completely,
Where is everyone?
appearing above, below, and on all sides. There was no direction that did not lead to a wall of Terran weapons.
Oh, yeah.
Impossible,
Trying to fight.
Eth whispered. How did they hide something so large? Al had no answer. He could only stare at the impossible sight before him.
Oh,
In
there's
all
people
his
way over
years
here?
of conquest,
They're
he had
just
never seen
looting,
anything like
so you guys
this.
know.
He had never felt so small. The communication system crackled. A voice filled the bridge. It was the voice of Admiral, calm and cold as winter
I'll take
ice.
that.
Grand Admiral Al, you were warned. You did not listen. Now you will understand why humanity does not make threats. Al found his voice. You cannot defeat us. We have 3,000 ships. You cannot. We make promises. The communication cut off. For a long moment, nothing happened. The fleet sat trapped in a cage of light and steel, surrounded by weapons they could not understand. Then Admiral gave a single order. Fire! And hell came to the stars. On Outpost 7, watched her screen
Yeah, I'm pretty
explode
sure
with
that was
light.
bot.
Thousands of weapons firing at once. Thousands of ships dying in the same moment. She had known this was coming. She had prepared herself for it. But nothing could have prepared her for the scale
I
of
don't
the
even know what to have
destruction.
right now. I'll get rid of
It's begun, said quietly.
this.
Could not speak. She could only watch as an
'cause I don't
empire's
really care for
pride was
that.
erased from existence, one ship at a time. In her chest, her heart beat fast. This was war. This was what humanity had become. Not monsters, not killers, but something that would never be threatened again. Whatever the cost. The battle lasted 11 minutes. In those 11 minutes, 3,000 warships learned what the word Oblivion truly meant. It began with light.
He's already going in front
Beams
of
of
you.
compressed neutron
He's in front of
matter
you.
shot from the Terran weapon platforms, moving faster than
there's our
any
teammate.
eye could follow. Each beam cut through hulls like a hot knife through
I don't think
soft
she can
butter.
get in.
Ships that had taken years to build were sliced in half in less than a second. Al screamed orders from the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. Return fire. All ships return fire. The fleet obeyed. Thousands of plasma cannons opened up, painting the darkness with deadly energy. Kinetic rounds
There
flew
is
through
people that are going
space
to be
like
to the
metal
right
rain.
of us from the little
Swarm
town, so
missiles
just be
launched by the
aware of
hundreds,
that.
seeking Terran targets with hungry sensors.
Fuckers! Hello!
None of it mattered.
Hi, Bonquito.
The weapons splashed harmlessly against Terran shields.
I think he's in his own car.
These were not
Oh, no.
ordinary barriers of energy. They were something far more advanced. They bent reality itself, redirecting incoming fire into other dimensions where it could harm nothing. Our weapons are not working,
You're a jerk
Eth
is
shouted,
playing. That's
his voice
crazy.
breaking with panic. Their shields are absorbing everything.
Destiny
Impossible,
needs
Al
cheese
roared.
slurp.
Nothing can
Destiny
stop
does.
our plasma cannons, nothing. But the evidence was right in front of his eyes. Weapons, the most powerful in the known galaxy, did absolutely nothing to the Terran platforms. It was like throwing stones at a mountain and expecting it to fall. Then the Terrans began, using their other weapons.
Matt,
Gravity
how
wells
are you- how's your
appeared
Friday,
inside ships
Bunkers?
without warning. One moment, a cruiser would be
guys-
fighting normally. The next moment, a point of impossible weight
Here's the
would
bud ball.
form in its center, crushing everything around it into a ball of metal and flesh no larger than a fist.
The way
Hundreds
I
of
have my
ships
shit set
died
up
this
is
way.
so fucking annoying.
Their crews had no time to scream,
Okay.
no time to understand what was happening.
Just got off
They simply
work.
ceased to exist, pulled apart by forces that science could not explain. And still it got worse. Autonomous drones swarmed from the weapon platforms. Each drone was small, no larger than a soldier, but there were millions of them. They moved with impossible speed and precision, guided by artificial minds that thought faster than any living brain. The drones attached themselves to hulls and began cutting. Their tools were made of materials harder than diamond, capable of slicing through any metal. Within minutes, they had dismantled entire warships, turning proud vessels of conquest into floating clouds of debris. On the bridge of the Dawn of Soul, Weapons Officer watched his console with calm focus. Each Terran weapon platform was firing exactly as planned. Each target was being destroyed exactly on schedule. Enemy fleet at 60% casualties, he reported. Approximately 1,800 ships destroyed or disabled. Admiral stood motionless, her hands clasped behind her back. Her face showed no emotion, no satisfaction, no regret, only cold concentration. Continue firing. Leave no ship capable of threatening us. Yes, Admiral.
He needs to be here for my
Near the back of the bridge, Lieutenant Minyu watched the battle with wide eyes. He was young, only 23, fresh from the military academy. This was his first real engagement.
Yeah, I can't do this.
He had trained for this. He had studied the tactics, learned the systems, practiced the drills, but nothing could have prepared him for the reality of watching 2 million beings die in less than a quarter hour.
That aim was so bad.
His hands were shaking. He gripped the edge of his console to hide it, but the trembling would not stop. Admiral noticed. She always noticed everything.
You wanna rush it?
She walked over to him, her footsteps soft on the metal floor. First battle, she asked quietly.
I'm going.
Minyu swallowed hard. Yes, Admiral.
Oh shit.
How do you feel?
On the other hill too.
He wanted to lie. He wanted to say he was fine, that he was handling it, that he was the soldier he had been trained to be. But the words would not come. Sick, he admitted. I feel sick.
Right in front of us.
Nodded slowly. There was no judgment in her eyes, no disappointment. Good, she said. That means you are still human. The day you stop feeling sick is the day you become something else, something we never want to be. Then why do we do this? Minyu asked. The question slipped out before he could stop it. Was silent for a moment. She looked out the viewing window at the destruction beyond, ships burning, lives ending, an empire's strength turning to ash.
Go to the lobby really quick. I'm gonna use
200 years ago, she said, we almost destroyed ourselves. We built weapons so terrible that they could have ended all life on Earth. We used them. We killed billions of our own people. The Earth itself was dying. Minyu knew this history. Everyone did. It was taught in every school, remembered in every memorial. We survived, continued, but we swore that we would never be weak again, never let another threat come close enough to hurt us. We built all of this because we remember what it felt like to nearly die. She turned to face him, her eyes hard as iron. We do not fight because we enjoy it. We fight because we have children on Earth who have never known war, families who sleep peacefully at night, people who laugh and love and dream without fear, and we will do anything to keep them safe. Minyu thought about his own family, his mother his younger sister in university, his grandmother who still tended her small garden every morning. They had no idea what was happening here. They were sleeping right now, safe in their beds, never knowing that their son and brother and grandson was watching thousands of beings die to protect them. I understand, he said quietly. I know you do, put a hand on his shoulder. Remember this feeling, hold on to it. Let it remind you what we are fighting for. She turned and walked back to her command position. On the Eternal Dominion, chaos had consumed the bridge. Al watched his tactical display with horror. The fleet was being destroyed faster than he could process. Ships vanished from the screen in clusters, their signals simply disappearing as if they had never existed. 1,000 ships gone. 2,000. 2500.
Yesterday it wasn't on there.
Grand Admiral, Eth shouted. We must retreat, we must.
Visiting the lodge.
I know. Al slammed his
Oh, yes,
fist
you get
against his
one
command
present
chair.
for a day.
All ships, emergency hyperspace jump, get us out of here. The navigation officer's hands flew across his console.
Okay, I guess
Then
I'll
his face went pale. We cannot jump, Grand Admiral. Something is blocking us. The space around us has been locked. We cannot open hyperspace portals.
Sucks that you only
Al
get one
felt his
visit, though.
blood
Oh,
turn
if you go
cold.
look at the fire,
Trapped.
it gives
They
you,
were
like,
trapped.
XP.
The Terrans had not just surrounded them with weapons. They had sealed off every possible escape route.
Like, fuck around with the
This was
XP.
not a
Or,
battle.
that gave you
This
10
was an
times.
execution. Then
It only
fight,
gives you a
he
little
screamed.
bit.
Fight until the last ship. We do not surrender. But his words were
Isn't
empty
it
now.
so
Everyone on the bridge knew it. They were going to
pretty
die
when you
here in
just
this cold space, surrounded by weapons they could not
I
hurt
don't know where
and enemies they could
my
not see.
gifter went.
The Eternal Dominion shuddered as another impact struck
Hey,
its
you know
hull.
what? They saw
Alarms
that we won
screamed.
that other round
Lights
and was like,
flickered.
"Oh, shit, I gotta pay
Hull
10,000
breach on deck
V-Bucks
7
right
through
now."
12, someone shouted. Engines failing, weapons
I should just chug
offline.
it in honor of him.
Al stood frozen, watching his empire's greatest achievement
I don't
crumble
know
around him.
I don't know where
He
he
had
went.
conquered
He gifted me
17
5
star
subs and that was it.
systems. He had never lost a
He
battle.
didn't want to see me
He had
chug it.
believed himself
Your
invincible.
secret-
Now he understood the truth.
I want a
The
secret
Terrans
gifter.
had not been hiding because they were afraid. They had been waiting, preparing, building
is a Raider
weapons in
fan?
secret that
Sadly,
made
yes,
technology
he
look
is.
like children's toys.
Yeah,
The warning had
unfortunately.
not been a bluff. It had been
Sadly,
a
he is
promise.
Vision.
And now that promise was being fulfilled.
You too
The
for-
last ships
for,
fell silent one by one.
cent a day.
Their lights went dark. Their engines stopped. Their
I
weapons
don't know what I want.
cooled.
Dessert dropper?
3,000
Raider
warships
used to be
reduced to
Oakland, but
drifting
now they're
wreckage
Las
in less than
Vegas.
11 minutes.
Yeah.
Only the Eternal Dominion remained, crippled, broken, but still somehow alive.
What do I do?
In the silence that followed,
Who did you
Admiral's
work with on
voice echoed
Wednesday?
across every Terran ship.
Tell him he's in here.
Cease fire, secure the remaining vessel. We are not finished yet.
Tell us
Grand
all.
Admiral Al was brought aboard the Dawn of
Tell
Soul
us all,
in
Vision.
chains.
I really like the
Terran
sword.
soldiers surrounded
I feel
him
like
as
I
he
wanna
walked
change
through
it
the
up.
corridors of the human ship. They were
Oh,
smaller
can-
than,
can
with
you?
soft skin and no natural armor.
Hey, you're just not
But
playing
their
with us
eyes were
anymore?
hard,
There's
and their
just
weapons never
Mm-hmm.
wavered. Al expected to be
Isn't
taken to a
there
torture
more
chamber.
room? Like,
That was what the
can we
did
try?
to captured enemy
Nice.
commanders. They broke them,
Well-
I'll drop
extracted
off. I'll drop off.
information,
No.
made examples of them.
Playing a game, that's why.
You
Instead,
only
he
played
was
one
taken
game,
to a medical
motherfucker.
bay.
The fuck?
Human doctors examined his wounds without speaking. They cleaned the cuts on his face. They wrapped bandages around his injured arm.
Send a picture.
They gave him water to drink
or you
and
can
food
just,
to
Are
eat.
you allowed to say it?
Al did not touch the food. It had to be poisoned. A trick.
have on my back
Some
stuff,
kind of
more back
psychological game before the real
You could
torture
put,
began.
yeah, like
But
back
no
stuff
torture
like that.
came. After the medical examination, soldiers led him to a small room. It was clean and simple, with white walls and a single table with 2 chairs.
Pickle?
They removed his chains and left him
What are we
alone.
looking at?
For a long time, Al sat in
Looking at the
silence.
backpack.
He tried to
No, like,
understand
on
what
his
was
stream.
happening. The humans had destroyed his fleet.
Backpack.
They had
Yeah,
killed
why is
nearly
your
2
view
million
like that?
soldiers. Why were they treating him like a guest instead of a prisoner?
Like what?
The
What
door
fuck? What
opened.
are you talking
A human
about? This is
woman
how much
walked
my
in.
balls
Oh, wait. It's because
She was
my
smaller
shit's
than
not,
he expected.
There you
Much
go.
smaller.
It
Her
was
hair was dark
'cause
with
I
streaks
paused
of
it
silver,
originally.
and her face
bad, my bad.
showed lines of age.
So it was from-
She wore a simple
It
uniform
was
with
from
no
earlier.
decorations except a small symbol on her chest.
Becca, shut up.
Admiral. She sat down across from him. Her movements
Is
were
there a
calm,
problem
unhurried.
with Fortnite?
She looked at him with
being
dark
stuck on
eyes
loading
that
for
seemed to
so
see
long.
everything.
Actually, mine was like that for a while,
Grand
too.
Admiral Al, she said. Her
Yeah.
voice was soft but clear.
Also, welcome to
Do
the
you know
stream.
why you are still alive? Al said nothing.
Was it
He
before
would
the
not give her the
DLC?
satisfaction of an answer.
Sometimes it acts
Did
up.
not seem bothered by his silence. She continued
Diaper
speaking
movie.
as if they were having a normal conversation.
Okay, I'm gonna put
Your
my
fleet
Bud
is
Cola in the
gone.
fridge because I need
Your
to wait for my
soldiers are
gift.
dead. Your flagship is
But I
crippled
don't want it to
beyond
be like
repair.
not cold anymore.
By
so
every
maybe-
measure, you have been completely and absolutely defeated.
Yeah, I'd feel
Still,
good
Al
about
remained
cold.
silent. And yet here you are, alive, fed, your wounds treated, your chains removed, leaned forward slightly. Do you know why? Finally, Al spoke. His voice was rough, broken
You're new
by
to my
shock
stream. Well,
and
welcome,
exhaustion.
welcome. I
Games,
just
human
started
games.
playing.
You want to break
I
me before you
used
kill
to
me.
be a variety streamer.
No, shook her head slowly.
Until I started playing Tekken,
We do not
and then I was
torture.
addicted
We
to
do not
Tekken,
play games with lives.
and
That is
I
not
had to take
who
a
we
break
are.
in order to start
Then
playing
why?
other
Al
games again
demanded.
because
Why am I alive? Why did you
Yeah, my
spare me
life
when
was
you
going
killed
to shit.
everyone else? His answer was simple.
So here I am
Because
playing Fortnite.
dead admirals cannot deliver messages.
I'm
Al
actually new
stared
to
at her.
Fortnite too. This
He
is
did
my
not
first time ever
understand.
playing it. I think
Stood
I've been
and
playing
walked
it
to
for,
the wall. She pressed a
what, like
button
2
and a
weeks now,
screen
maybe?
appeared showing images that Al recognized immediately.
First time ever playing
Ships,
it ever.
burning, breaking apart, vanishing
No,
into
like,
clouds of
for
metal
like
and
2
flame.
weeks, I think. Maybe.
This is what happened to your fleet, she said. Every detail has been
Ooh,
recorded.
Tekken
Every
8?
weapon
Dude,
we
who
used,
is your main?
every
Who the
tactic
fuck
we
is your main?
employed,
Tell me right now.
nothing has been hidden. She turned to face him. You will return to your empire. You will take these recordings with you, and you will show your
Thank
leaders
you,
exactly
Frogs.
what we
I
can do.
appreciate you.
Al's mind
Are you
raced.
streaming right now?
They were letting him go after what he had done,
I appreciate
after
you so
invading
much.
their space with 3,000 warships.
So yeah, once
Why?
the
He
countdown
asked
is
again.
like at 3,
The
you
question
should be at the
seemed
top
foolish,
of the
but
wave
he
so
had to
that
understand.
You can be as
Returned
high
to
as
her
possible.
chair and sat down. For a long moment, she was silent.
Like,
When
the
she
wave,
spoke again,
so
her
when the
voice
countdown
was
gets
different,
to like 3,
softer,
try to be at
sadder.
the top of the wave so that
200
you're higher
years
up when
ago, we almost
when they
destroyed
shoot you up.
ourselves. We built weapons that could kill entire cities in seconds. We used those weapons against each other. Billions of our own people died. Our planet was poisoned.
Are we going to the
Our
carnival?
civilization
Oh, yeah,
nearly
we're going to the
ended.
carnival. Have you been
Al
to the
knew
carnival
nothing
yet?
of this. They had not studied human history. They had only seen humans as another
I'm
species
not
to
streaming right now.
conquer.
I'm just nice,
We
nice,
survived,
nice.
continued. But we learned something important from that experience. We learned
I
that
haven't
strength
streamed
without
in,
wisdom
like, a week, I
leads to
think. It's
destruction.
been-
We
where's-
learned
you
that
guys are all
fear
here, right?
without
Where-
understanding creates only more enemies. She met his eyes directly. We do not want war with your empire. We do not want to conquer you. We do not want to destroy you.
Hopefully
All
can
we
get
want is to
some
be left
games in
alone,
later, or I'll
to
be on all
protect our
weekend too,
people,
Frog, so
to
we can
live
play
in
too
peace.
this weekend.
Then why
I'll
build
be
such
streaming
weapons?
Tekken,
Al asked.
PUBG,
Why create
Fortnite,
platforms that can destroy entire fleets?
and I don't know what else.
Because the galaxy is dangerous. His voice hardened. Because there are species like yours who only
Tell
understand
me why I want to
force.
play Roblox.
Because we have learned that weakness invites attack, and we will never be
The last
weak
time I
again.
played it, I got bullied.
She stood again and walked to the door. Before opening it, she turned back to face him one last time. Go home, Grand
kids
Admiral.
nowadays are so
Tell your
mean.
leaders what you saw here. Tell them that Terran space is forbidden. Not because we hate you, not because we want to fight
just
you,
kidding.
but because
I'm
we will protect
kidding.
our people at any cost. Her eyes burned with cold fire.
You're the second
If you come again, there will be no survivors to send back. Do you understand? Al nodded slowly. He understood. He understood everything now. The warning had never been a bluff. It had never been empty words designed to frighten enemies. It had been exactly what it claimed to be.
All right,
A
am I gonna drink
promise.
this?
Soldiers came and escorted Al to a small transport ship. They gave him the recordings. They gave him
I'm
supplies
so
for
ready
the
for
journey
bleach
home.
skin tomorrow.
They even repaired his wounds
Wait, who
one
did
more
you
time
say
before departure.
your main was? I think I missed it.
As his ship left the dawn of Seoul,
I might
Al
have
looked
missed
back
it.
at the Terran fleet through the viewport.
Unless you didn't
The
tell me.
weapon platforms were still visible, floating silently in space like sleeping giants. He thought about what it said, about the
Here,
history of
Destiny, you want this
humanity,
purple,
about their
shotgun?
near extinction at their own hands,
the fuck?
about the lessons they had learned.
Did someone just?
They had
did someone
always
blow me
believed
up?
that strength
I
came
was
from
just getting this-
conquest, from
What?
domination,
Wait,
from crushing
come pick me
everyone
up,
who
someone.
stood in
I
their
don't
way.
know.
But
What
the
was
humans
that?
had found a
What the
different
fuck
kind
was
of
that?
strength, a strength born from suffering, from
box.
survival, from the
Dude.
absolute determination to
They blew
never
me
be
up,
victims
bitch.
again. Al had spent his entire life as a conqueror. He
Oh,
had
we're gonna
never
fucking
lost.
kill these fucking
He had never
motherfuckers.
failed. He had believed himself
Fuck these
invincible.
guys.
Now he was returning home as the
Motherfuckers.
only survivor of the greatest military disaster in history. He was carrying a message that would change everything his people believed about the
You
galaxy.
saw that, Solid? Where the fuck are you,
The journey
Solid?
back
Look.
would take many days. He would have time to think, time to remember, time to prepare for what he had
Where?
to say when he arrived. But one thing he knew for certain. He would never
Yeah,
forget
fuck
the
you. You know
human
what? Let me go
admiral
get him.
with
Wait, let me get him.
silver-streaked
Don't
hair
finish.
and
Aw,
eyes
you
like winter
guys.
ice.
I wanted to
He would
fucking
never
grab
forget the
him.
calm way
You
she
guys
spoke
forget
about
that, whatever that
destroying
is.
his entire fleet.
That's crazy. I missed
He would
every
never
single
forget the
shot.
quiet certainty in her voice when
What
she
is this
promised
bullshit?
oblivion to anyone who threatened her people. They had thought humans were weak because they were small and soft and peaceful. They had been wrong. Humans were the most dangerous species in the
I
galaxy.
still don't know like how I
Not
got
because
blown
they
up like
loved
that.
war,
Like,
not because they
wanna
enjoyed
know.
killing, but because they loved
I'll
their
get that. Are you
children
gonna take
more
that?
than
Okay.
they feared death. And that made them unstoppable. As his ship entered hyperspace, Al closed his
already
eyes
have
and began
6 of
planning his
those?
message. His
Okay.
people needed to know the
Someone's
truth.
going towards Dakota.
Terran space was
Okay.
forbidden, and it would stay that way forever. It did not fall
Yeah,
to
some of 'em-
invasion.
oh shit.
It
Some of
did
them are
not
bots.
crumble under attack. It simply broke apart from within, shattered by
Oh,
a
no, it's
single
not.
word
That's
that
not a
spread
bot.
across 17 star systems like wildfire. Fear.
There you go, Becca.
Grand Admiral Al arrived at the carrying recordings of the battle. He showed them to the High Council. He showed them the weapon platforms appearing from nowhere. He showed them the fleet being destroyed in 11 minutes. He showed them the face of Admiral as she delivered her
Oh,
final
there's
warning.
Slurp. Do you guys want me
The
to wait,
council
or do you want me
watched
to
in
hit it?
silence. When the recordings ended, no one spoke for a long time. Finally, the Supreme Commander asked the question everyone was thinking. How do we defeat them? Al's answer destroyed the Empire. We cannot. Those two words spread through the military, then through the government, then through the general population. The
Okay,
mighty
we're all kinda spread
conquerors
out,
of
so we
17
should make
star
sure
systems had found an enemy they could not beat.
No, don't fall.
The conquered species heard the news next. On worlds that had bent under boots for generations, beings looked at each other with new eyes. Their masters were not invincible. There was a species somewhere in the galaxy that had crushed them like insects. Hope is a dangerous thing to give to the oppressed. Rebellions began on 3 worlds within the first cycle.
Look,
By
you
the
wanna
3rd
change
cycle,
it?
11 systems were in open revolt. The military, weakened by the loss of 3,000 ships, could not respond fast enough. The empire that had taken 40 cycles to build fell apart in 6. Across the galaxy, other civilizations watched and learned. They studied the recordings that had somehow leaked from space. They
I don't really have
analyzed
the
the
gun for this
weapons.
fight,
They
but
calculated
it's
the
fine.
power required
I
to
got this.
create such things. And they updated their star charts with new information. Terran space forbidden. No civilization questioned this. No explorer tested the boundaries.
I'm pushing too.
No military commander suggested probing their defenses. The lesson had been taught clearly, and the galaxy had learned it well. On Earth, life continued as if nothing had happened. The Terran people knew about the battle, of course. The news had reported it briefly, but there were no celebrations, no parades, no monuments to victory. The Terran Defense Initiative simply returned to their positions and continued watching the stars. Admiral retired 3 years after the battle. She had served for 40 years, and she was tired. Tired of watching death. Tired of carrying the weight of billions of lives on her shoulders. Tired of being the person who decided when enemies lived and when they died. She returned to a small house outside New Seoul, where she grew vegetables and read books, and tried to forget the sound of ships breaking apart. Her officers scattered across
there's someone
Terran
else with
space,
us.
taking new
You hear that, Becca?
positions, training new generations, passing on the lessons they had learned. Lieutenant Minyu became a captain, then a commander, then an admiral
Oh
himself.
shit, you can be on top
He
of
never
these fucking
forgot what had
trees.
taught him about staying human even in war. Weapons officer returned to
Macy.
teaching at the military academy. He had a gift for explaining complex systems in simple terms, and his students loved him. Navigation officer married a fellow officer and raised 3 children, all of whom eventually joined the Terran fleet. On Outpost 7, senior officer continued watching the borders until the day he retired. His replacement was a young woman named, who reminded him of in her early years. Herself had transferred to a command position, overseeing an entire sector of monitoring stations.
Oh, here we go. I got hit.
Life went on. Generations passed. The battle with the became history, then legend, then something that children learned about in school and mostly forgot.
I'm
But
not
the
gonna lie, I was
warning
a little lost right now.
continued. On every frequency, in every language, eternal and unchanging. This is Terran Unified Command. You are approaching sovereign human territory. Turn back. There will be no second warning. Entry means oblivion.
Oh no.
50 years after the battle, in a small apartment in New Seoul,
I
an
mean,
old
we
woman
can
sat
choose a
on her
direction
balcony watching the
because
sunset.
We're kind of in
Her name was.
center-ish.
She had been a captain once, serving aboard the Dawn of Seoul on the day when 3,000 ships died. She had manned the communications array, sending and receiving messages as the battle raged around her. Now she was 82 years old. Her hair was white. Her hands were wrinkled. Her eyes had grown dim, but her mind remained sharp and her memories remained clear. The door to the balcony opened and a small child ran out. Her name was Sora, and she was great-granddaughter. She was 7 years old with bright eyes and endless energy. Grandma, Sora climbed into his lap. Tell me a story. Smiled and wrapped her arms around the child. What kind of story do you want to hear? A story about space, about ships and stars and adventures. Thought for a moment. There were many stories she could tell. Happy stories, exciting stories, stories
I'm
with
gonna stay
heroes and
watching with
villains and
Destiny.
dramatic endings.
While you guys
But
are
some
looking that way.
stories were not for children. Some memories were too heavy to share with young minds.
Oh yeah, they're
Once
right here.
upon a
They're
time,
pushing her.
she began,
One person.
there was a little
that's-
planet called
That's
Earth.
not a real person. That's
It was
a bot.
very
There's no
small
way.
and very far from everything else in the galaxy. Is that where we live? Yes, little one, that's where we
Yeah.
live, stroked
But,
Sora's
of
hair
course I
gently.
fucking-
The people on
my
Earth
ammo.
had been through very hard times. They had fought with each other. They had hurt
I need
each other.
fucking ammo,
They had
bro.
made many mistakes. That's sad, Sora said. It was sad, but they learned from their mistakes. They decided to be better. They decided to protect each other instead of hurting each other. And they built wonderful things
Hopefully-
to keep everyone safe.
This ammo.
What kind of things? Looked up at the evening sky. The first stars were beginning to appear, tiny points of light in the growing darkness.
Yeah.
Ships that could fly through space,
Get more in
shields that
circle,
could
to be
stop
honest.
anything, and a promise that they made to the whole galaxy. What promise? That they would never hurt anyone who left them alone, but that anyone who tried to hurt them would be very, very sorry. Sora was quiet for a moment, thinking about this. Then she asked, "Did anyone ever try to hurt us?" Smile faded slightly. Old memories stirred in her mind. The flash of weapons, the silence after the battle ended, the weight of what they had done. Once, she said softly,
from afar.
a long time ago, but we kept our promise and they
People are
went
gonna
away.
push you to put it right here.
Forever.
Yep.
Forever. Sora seemed satisfied
Yeah,
with this
there's no
answer.
fucking way.
She
This is
snuggled
fucking
deeper
in the
into
middle
her
of
great-grandmother's arms and watched the stars appear one by one. Grandma, are we safe? Held her, she thought about all the years of watching and waiting, all the weapons hidden in the darkness between stars, all the men and women who stood ready
Oh,
to protect
shit.
their people at any cost. Yes, little one, she said, we are safe. We will always be safe. And far away in the cold silence of space, the weapon platforms floated in their hidden dimensions, waiting, watching, ready. The warning continued to broadcast as it had for 50 years,
Oh, I went to
as it
lobby
would
on
for
accident, but it's
500,
okay.
as it would for 5,000, because humanity
I went
had
to
made a
lobby on
promise
accident.
to itself and to the galaxy, a promise written in the blood of billions and the ashes of dead empires.
I'm hella hungry.
Never again
Honestly, me
would they
too.
be weak. Never again would they be victims. Never again would they allow anyone to threaten the children who slept peacefully under their protection. The galaxy had learned this lesson. The galaxy remembered,
Play with my hands crossed?
and
I
no
play with my
one
hands
ever
crossed to be able
tested the
to-
warning again. In her apartment in New Seoul, held her great-granddaughter and watched the stars. The child fell asleep in her arms, breathing softly, dreaming of ships and adventures and the beautiful darkness between worlds. did not sleep. She remembered. She always remembered. But when she looked at Sora's peaceful face, she knew that every memory,
My bad.
every
I was,
battle,
like,
every loss had been worth it.
staring at myself and being like, wow,
This
that's
was
fucking
why
cool.
they had fought. This was why they
So
had built their
cool.
weapons and their shields and their terrible promise.
Are you?
So that children could dream without fear. So that humanity could live.
Damn, Star.
So that the warning would never have to be proven again.
I
Sleep
didn't say
well,
that.
little
I
one,
wasn't even
whispered.
talking.
The stars are watching
These
over
are
you.
your motivators.
And somewhere in the darkness, the stars watched back.
I wasn't even fucking talking,
Eternal, silent, waiting. Forever,